How we doing, folks? I'll see you with another video, and in this video we're doing another in our periodic versus series, this time pitting the Imperial Armour Dreadnoughts from the Adeptus Custodes against each other. So we have in one corner the Galatus Dreadnought, and in the other we have the Achillus. So let's see what the tale of the tape with these two Dreadnoughts are, and which is my personal favourite of the two. So if we start off with the basics and the stat line, they are both pretty much identical stat wise. Both have a move of 6, toughness 9, 2 up save, 10 wounds. The main difference comes the Galatus has a slightly better invulnerable save at a 4+, as opposed to the Achilles' 5+. Now, this is a thing because both of these dreadnoughts follow distinctly opposite things. The Galatus is a bulwark. It's all about its defense. It's a tank. It's its defense. It's defensive. It's there to dish out hits and also absorb them. The Achilles is much more of an offensive-minded fighting machine. This is reflected in its equipment, its shooting options, and all that stuff. So let's get into it, and we'll start off with the Achilles. So if we talk about its spear, in melee it has 5 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 5, -2 AP, and d6 +1 damage. Pretty decent stat line for a melee weapon, so minimum 2 damage going up to 7 depending how you roll. 5 attacks, it can put the hurt on things pretty effectively. Then if we go into its range weapon capable options, well, you have what it comes with by default: Balastrum Stormbolter, rapid fire 2, 2 shots, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage. You can replace those with the Adeptus Destructors, easy for me to say. Twin linked, range 18, 1 shot as opposed to the 2 of the Stormbolters. Same ballistic skill, pip highest strength at 6, -2 AP, 3 damage. And if they don't tickle you, you can have a combination of a Stormbolter and the Adeptus Destructor, or the other weapon to consider is the Infernus Incinerator, basically a flamer type weapon. So Torrent, ignores cover, range 12, d6 attacks, strength 6, -1 AP, 1 damage. So basically a slightly more powerful flamer. Now you can take 2 of these in pretty much any combination, so you could double up on the incinerators, keep the 2 bolters, have the 2 destructors, or mix and match as you see fit. So the Achilles is very much more of an offensive-minded dreadnought as opposed to the Galatus, which we'll come to in a moment. If we go ability-wise with the Achilles, it's got the Dread Force. So each time it's selected to fight, you can select one enemy unit with an engagement range of it and roll 1d6. Adding 2 to the result if this model made a charge move this turn. On a 4 to 5, that model suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, that model suffers 3. So again, playing into the Galatus' offensive strengths, it charges in. You can 4+, you can do up to a set number of mortals before you even land a blow with your spear, depending on what you roll, of course. So it could be d3, it could be 6, but regardless, you're getting potentially getting some extra wounds in, which is always nice. So let's go to the other side of the coin and the Galatus. It's more defensive-minded cousin. So as we said, the stat-wise, they are the same pretty much. The Galatus has a slightly better invulnerable save, but the Galatus is much more of a defensive piece. So, but let's look at its equipment. So if we look at its war blade, the Galatus can still go at 8 attacks, hits on 2s, strength 8, minus 2 AP, 3 damage. So yes, it's more defensive in nature, but don't be fooled. The Galatus can still go. It can fight if it needs to, and it can fight pretty damn well. Range wise, its warblade is essentially has the same flamer type weapon that the Achillus has, but the Achillus has access to, but that's its only range capability. So the Galatus is a more defensive minded piece, but it's also a more close ranged piece, whereas the Achillus can operate at mid range, going into close and eventually into close combat. Ability wise, you have the Galatus shield, so each time a melee attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the wound wall. So again, playing into its role as a more defensive minded, bulwarky, tanky piece, it's harder to hurt. It's got a bit more survivability, it's harder to hurt with its shield, and that's pretty much the tail of the tape as far as the Dreadnoughts go. Yes, they're on the same chassis, but they pretty much operate on opposite sides of the coin. So, which of the two is the better option? Well, a lot depends on what you're wanting to do with your Custodes. If you're wanting to take the fight to your opponent, then it's a no-brainer. The Achillus is by far the better option. It's the better melee fighter. You've got versatility in the toolbox with how you can kit to range weapons out. As I mentioned, with its whirl, you can inflict mortals on the charge, so you can sort of use somewhat of a cruise missile against certain targets. The Galatus, it can go. Do not be fooled. It can fight and it can do well. But the Galatus is something I would use a bit more tactically, a bit more defensively. Like, if you wanted to hold a certain point, like, say, reinforce a unit holding an objective in no man's land territory. You have a unit of custodian guard with swords and boards. You send a Galatus in to help them out. All of a sudden, you've got quite a tanky proposition on that objective, although admittedly it's a lot of points, but such as the life of a custode player, everything costs a lot of points. Now, my personal favourite of the two, taking all the rules aside and just going purely on models, I love both of them, but there's something about the Galatus as a model, just this metallic giant with its oversized shield and its massive blade. There's just something iconic in that imagery for me. But I really like both of these Dreadnoughts, and as such, and unusually in the videos I've done in this versus series, I can't pick an out-and-out winner because, like I said, they operate on different sides of the same coin. One being much more offensive minded, the other being that bit more defensive minded. So it entirely depends on what you want to do with your Custodes army, or indeed, if you're playing Horus Heresy, your Talons of the Emperor's Force. But that's just my take on it. What do you guys think? As always, let me know in the comments, and I shall catch you in the next video. Bye.